Hi, this is Chancellor Agard, and with Wonder Woman coming out June 2nd, we are officially 4 films deep into the DC Extended Universe, or DCEU. This is the perfect time to take a look at how Wonder Woman, The Dark Knight, Supes, and all the rest of the DC heroes connect in this rapidly expanding series of films. Despite the massive success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, now in its 3rd phase, DC Comics has struggled over the years to launch their own interconnected cinematic oeuvre. That all changed in 2013 with the release of Man of Steel, starring Henry Cavill as Superman, and directed by Zack Snyder, who had previously dabbled in this world with the DC-adjacent Watchmen. Superman Returned, not to be confused with Superman Returns, in 2016's Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. And lest you be confused by obvious titles, this film not only introduced Ben Affleck's scowling Batman, but also teed up the Justice League with sly cameos from Aquaman, The Flash, Cyborg, and of course, Wonder Woman. Via email. Very exciting. The DCEU took a walk on the dark side later in the summer with Suicide Squad, focusing on some well-known Batman villains and directly addressing the aftermath of Batman vs. Superman. Enter Diana Prince, aka Wonder Woman, lasso of truth in tow, who will be duking it out this June and will be returning to team up in November's Justice League. After Justice League, other DC comic favorites are slated to have their own films, including Aquaman in 2018, Shazam in 2019, and standalone Cyborg and Green Lantern films in 2020. Other confirmed standalone films without set release dates include The Flash, Batgirl, Nightwing, and the Justice League Dark Universe. From there, it's a crisis of infinite sequels with Superman, Batman, Suicide Squad, Justice League, all making returns in the near future, as well as spin-offs like the Suicide Squad-related Gotham Sirens. So the forecast is looking good if you're a fan of DC on the big screen. And it all continues when Wonder Woman hits theaters on June 2nd. No word yet on whether the film will include another one of DC's famous emo action scenes.
Thanks, Chance. Now, don't leave your bat caves because we'll be right back with plenty more show. Welcome back. Also featured in EW this week is a summer music preview. So we're going to talk tunes, everyone. With the rise of streaming services and the demise of record stores, it can be hard to turn a buck in the music industry. But resourceful tunesmiths are still finding a way to do it. How do they make it happen? I don't know, but I think my 3 rockin' panelists just might. I'm joined by frontman and legendary guitarist for Government Mule, Warren Haynes, producer and songwriter Andrew Horowitz, and EW's very own Carlos Sosenko. Welcome to the show, gang. Let's talk music, shall we?
Sure.
All right. So, Warren, you've survived many, many eras of the music industry.
Okay.
What's been the secret to your longevity, and how do artists today have a career that's as illustrious and as long as yours?
You know, I've been really lucky, and I don't know if it's good advice to give someone, but I've always just made decisions based on what felt right to me and what I wanted to do. I've never based any decision on, well, how are people going to react and what's new in the marketplace. None of that. It's just always what feels right. And I've just been in the right place at the right time, I guess, you know. And I think if you do what you love, you're going to be better at that than anything else. So if you do that, maybe you stand a better chance of surviving.
And you're what they call a road dog. You tour constantly. You're constantly on the road.
I guess I'm on the road a lot, yeah. Because the kind of music that we are known for is more about touring than it is about record sales, and more about live performance than it is about airplay. So yeah, I've been on the road a long, long time. It's changed a lot.
You want to drop a few names that you've been affiliated with over the years? The
Well,
Allman Brothers, perhaps?
I joined the Allman Brothers in 1989, and that was a huge opportunity for me. We decided to stop touring in 2014, so 25 years for me of doing that. And when I was growing up, they were one of my all-time favorite bands. I could never predict that one day I would be in the band for 25 years.
Now, Andrew Horowitz, could you have predicted that you'd work with some of the biggest names in the business? Janelle Monáe?
I still don't know why I'm here. I've worked with, I spent a lot of time on an album by Jadena, a rapper who came out a couple months ago.
He's Nigerian, so am
Nigerian.
I. Woohoo, green, white, green.
And I've worked with John Legend on Love in the Future, and that was just amazing experience. I just work on things I'm excited about, and I've been lucky to just keep getting more work.
You know, everyone talks about streaming. So you've got Tidal, you've got Apple Music, you've got Spotify, you've got Pandora. Do you think these sites help or hurt artists, especially young emerging artists?
They absolutely help artists because you don't need a label anymore. You can be in your bedroom, create something, and just put it out in the world and see how people respond. It's an amazing time to be in music.
It's interesting because Chance the Rapper has no label, has no affiliation with anyone. He just makes money from his music.
People respond to good music.
Okay, you're sort of a master of many things. You write, you play a number of instruments as well, you produce. Do you think that you have to be sort of a jack of all trades in the industry currently to have success or longevity?
I think it helps immensely. There's so much talent out there, and there's also at the same time, there's so much noise. And the more skills you bring to the table and the more you can help artists, the more work you're gonna get and the more people that will wanna work with you.
Carla, can we talk vinyl?
Yeah.
There's been this resurgence of vinyl, which I love. Like,
So cool.
I remember combing through my dad's old records, and I remember like hearing DJs play with actual records as opposed to sort of MP3s and all of that. Do you think that this is going to encourage a shift to a return to buying vinyl? Will it become ubiquitous?
I don't think it will become ubiquitous, but I think that we've seen the industry start responding already because when people got interested in buying vinyl again, because they wanted something to hold in their hands or they wanted a liner note or they're a completist and they just, it's still kind of nichey. The fact remained that there were not enough record presses to actually produce them, so the industry is having to catch up. But you see it, you go onto like the Barnes & Noble website and there's a vinyl section now. And new artists, they're releasing music not just digitally, but also, you can get Harry Styles' latest album on vinyl. And a lot of them come with perks, like you can actually get a digital download too. So I think that it's kind of just like this whole nostalgia thing that we're seeing sweeping kind of the world, not just in music, but it goes hand in hand with it. And I think that the industry is responding.
Carla, you're one of the masterminds behind this summer preview issue.
Never been a mastermind before.
Well, there you are. What are you most excited about this summer? What are you excited to see?
The thing that I'm most excited for is Lorde's new record because her first two singles have not disappointed, and we've been waiting a really long time for her to drop new music. So really excited about that. I'm of course excited about Katy Perry's new album. Her first two singles have been fantastic too. Bleachers is coming out with new music. There's like a lot of really good stuff. Grizzly Bear, first new music I think in 4 years. And then of course there are tours. I mean, Kendrick's gonna be touring, so that'll be amazing. Lady Gaga, who I would, will travel to the ends of the earth to see. There's a lot of really exciting stuff happening this summer.
There's another tour that I heard is happening soon. Warren, care to talk about that?
Government Mule is releasing our new album, which is also vinyl, called Revolution Come, Revolution Go, and it comes out June 9th. And our tour kind of officially starts tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to it. New music is always exciting.
Do you still get nervous, excited?
I get anxious. I get like if you're playing a sport, that feeling of, okay, let's get this going, not nervous in a way of like, oh, am I going to screw up, but more like, I'm ready to go.
Mr. Horowitz, what do you have going on this summer?
I have a few releases coming up from some independent artists in the New York scene. I'm an artist named May, wonderful Australian singer. I'm working with a French singer right now named Olivia Blanc. And on the other front, I have a couple, I can't really talk about, but I have a few things coming out soon.
Are you gonna tell me right now?
No.
No? I thought if I just Jedi mind you would spill all the beans. Didn't work.
Can't spill the beans.
Carla, last question.
Yeah.
This year has been tough for a lot of people for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
And I've heard more now than ever, people want this summer to be a rocking summer in terms of music. People want their spirits lifted. Are you hearing sort of the same thing? They just want the music to be
I'm
great.
definitely feeling it. Katy Perry, when she talked to us about her album, said that there are certainly dancey tracks, and we've heard a couple of them, but she also feels really empowered and kind of liberated, and she wants to fight. And so I think that we're going to hear that too. And I think that sometimes the lyrics and the melody are kind of, they are juxtaposed in that way. You could have a really dancey tune with a really kind of like a message of resistance, maybe.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, thank you so much for being here. You're awesome. You are actually music to my ears.
Oh boy.
You know what, Kim? Stop groaning in my ear. You guys, thanks so much for stopping by. We'll be right back with more show. Music to my ears. You didn't
That was
like
good.
it?
I loved it.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Warren liked
fantastic.
it. Recently, I caught up with one of the biggest names in Hollywood, director and producer Paul Feig. We chatted about everything from his new film Snatch to whether Melissa McCarthy will be back for Bridesmaids 2. Take a look. Paul, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Lola.
You're one of the producers of Snatch.
Yes.
It stars Amy Schumer and Goldie Hawn.
Yes.
Now, you've said your favorite thing in the world is to work with funny women. So this must have been a treat.
Oh my God, unbelievable. I mean, first of all, Amy is sort of, this powerhouse today, and then Goldie, such a, you hate to say legend because that makes put somebody in the past. I mean, she's just, but such a groundbreaking, comedic actress and producer, and just what a delight to get to work with her.
What was their chemistry like?
Through the roof, crazy. Because Amy loves Goldie, and so when Katie Dippold wrote this script that I was going to direct, it was back when we were finishing up Spy. But then I went into Ghostbusters, and the studio wanted to make this movie a little sooner, so I handed it off to Jonathan Levine to direct. But we got Amy, and Amy read the script and loved it, wanted to do it. And then she immediately said, I want Goldie Hawn to play my mom, because she's such a fan of Goldie's. And she had run into her on an airplane a while earlier and had kind of accosted her and said, we're going to work together. And Goldie had no idea who she was.
She's like, okay, dear.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Stalker.
Yeah, but then they were together for the Glamour Awards in London, and Amy actually had the script, and so she went up and said, would you do this? And then we had Goldie.
So in addition to Goldie Hawn, the movie features performances by Joan Cusack and Wanda Sykes.
Yeah.
Do you think Amy wanted to give these women that she reveres an opportunity to be in this movie because she has such a profound respect for them?
Very much so, very much so. I mean, Amy knew Wanda from the stand-up world, obviously, and we're all such huge fans. And then what was so funny about Joan is, the part was written with no dialogue. It's about this woman who cuts her own tongue out because she was in the special ops, and so she doesn't want to give up any secrets. And we were always like, how are we going to get somebody to play this? Because nobody's going to take a part that you don't talk in. And actually, Joan was like, she loved the idea of the challenge of like having a role where she didn't speak, and so she jumped on board. And then we have the amazing Ike Barinholtz, who's so funny. But but Amy is really, she's great. She like all of us appreciate funny women, and also funny women who don't get to be in enough things and don't get to showcase themselves enough. Which is why I love making movies with these great female characters in them, because there are so few roles.
But you're a man who
quality.
talks the talk and walks the walk when it comes to giving women in Hollywood opportunities. Between Bridesmaids, The Heat, and Spy, you are a clear and real champion. Would you call yourself a feminist?
I mean, I'd love to call myself a feminist, but I always feel like it's kind of like guys who call themselves feminists. It's something I am very, very supportive of the feminist cause.
Okay.
I feel like, I don't know, there's something feels weird about like, hey, I'm one of you, because I'm so in support of feminism.
That you wouldn't dare call yourself a feminist.
Yeah, weirdly, I don't know. I never know where people stand on that.
Let's talk about Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Okay, that was an interesting moment for you. All-female cast, your idea, and it was initially well received, but there was a bit of a backlash. Why do you think it was so polarizing for some people?
I think it was what I didn't realize going into it, because I was in my early 20s when it first came out. I was in film school, and we
You
loved
saw it opening night.
I saw it opening night, exactly. And we were just like, oh my gosh, this is what a great idea for a comedy. These people are so funny, and that was kind of the takeaway. I always had fond memories of it, but I didn't realize that sort of for a generation of guys, before or after me, I guess, they grew up with it, and it was sort of their religion. And what I didn't realize, it was just kind of the ultimate guys movie. Bizarrely, because plenty of women love the movie too, but so I think it stepped into a little bit of that, which is kind of silly, but I don't know. I think it was a lot of ado about nothing, and now that we're out there, the movie's there to be judged, and a lot of people love it, some people don't like it, and like any movie, you're not going to get everybody. But what I love is so many women that contact me have been inspired by just having those 4 kick-ass women in those roles, and there was so much science in it, and I just really, it did what I wanted it to do, and I'm very happy.
I didn't realize that you were an actor first until I did this research. How does that inform your work as a director and a writer?
It's great. I mean, honestly, for me, it's probably, you know, because I've been to film school and learned all that. I think my acting past is probably the most beneficial thing I have as a director, because I understand what actors are going through, and I worked with enough directors that didn't create the right environment for me to kind of be at my best. You know, there's a lot of tension and all. You know, when you're trying to be funny, the last thing you want to do is be sort of like worried or holding back.
That's true.
And so, yeah, so I'm just able to really create a safe environment where they can try anything, and we really try anything. I mean, that's, you know, why we have so much fun with all the alts and the improv we do on the set, because I just want to, you know, basically get every ounce of creativity out of my cast that I can.
Everyone's been asking about sequels to The Heat and Spy.
I wouldn't mind a sequel myself.
All right.
Exactly.
Well, good. Let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's surprisingly difficult sometimes to get sequels made.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that go into it. Depends how much money the movie made when it first came out. Did it get, you know, does the studio want another one? You know, then did the people involved want to do another one? So there's a lot of moving pieces. But I have to say, you know, well, The Heat we actually wrote. Katie Dippold wrote The Heat too, so it does exist as a script, and it's very, very funny.
Okay.
It's kind of like a Silence of the Lambs, so it's a scary, funny movie, which Katie and I are obsessed with, trying to do like a really scary, funny movie. So, but that one's kind of, you know, not everyone's agreed to do it. And then Spy, I don't know, who knows? But I love once you have characters, you know, that you help bring to life, they become real. They become like family. And so that was like when Freaks and Geeks got canceled, I think it was the hardest thing of like you kind of lost your family all of a sudden. And even those people still exist, those characters don't truly exist anymore to bring forward.
Now, we are in the season of reboots. Could this happen, of Freaks and Geeks?
I don't
A reunion,
know.
maybe?
I don't know. I mean, I would never want to do anything that wasn't great. And I'm so happy with those 18 episodes that I'm nervous about it, because I personally have never kind of seen a reunion that I'm like, yeah, that's great. You know, even though, you know, there are good ones. But but that said, if, you know, we ever had the idea of like, that's how we do it, then sure, I'd be open to it.
People have also been desperate for a Bridesmaid sequel.
I know.
What do you think?
Well, I that's completely up to Kristen, you know, because that's her baby, even though we all worked on it, obviously. But the hard thing with doing a sequel to any sequel, really, but especially a movie like Bridesmaids, we all remember all the stuff around it, all the fun wedding stuff and all that. But really, the reason that movie worked is because this is the woman whose life had fallen apart, had to go through the fire to get her life together again.
That's true.
And so you can't have her fall apart again.
No.
You know, but who knows?
Melissa McCarthy could get married.
I know. If we do one, I have a funny feeling that's probably would be a very big part of the plot.
Please. And there'll be puppies, and a giant cupcake can get
All
stabbed. That'd be great.
all the puppies would have grown up. So
Right.
she has 9 dogs, full-size dogs.
Let's talk fashion, by the way. So you
Please.
wear a custom 3-piece suit to work every day.
Yeah.
You don't have to, clearly.
Exactly. That's right. That's right.
But why do you?
I have so many reasons. I love pictures of old Hollywood, where you'd see not only just the director and everybody in ties, but you see like the crew standing there like suit and tie and hats and all that. I just find it. I have this image like growing up of like when you watch a movie, you go like, I bet that's what it looked like behind the scenes. And so it's almost like when you have like a DJ you really like and something, then you go into the studio with them and they're like in sweatpants and stuff. You're like, oh, I kind of imagined they would look cooler than this.
Right.
And so I guess that same thing for me as a filmmaker, but also, I guess, since I'm so lucky to be in charge, you know, and to be the captain of whatever ship you're, sailing, which happens to be that movie, like, I want to honor that. And I always say, like, if I walked on a cruise ship and the captain was wearing sweatpants, I'd get very nervous.
Thank you so much for being
We
here.
are, Lola. Thank you
Please
so much.
come back anytime.
I would love to.
Thanks once again to the dapper and lovely Paul Feig. All right, gang, you know I'm a huge Sunday Night TV fan, and last week's episode of HBO's The Leftovers was completely out of control. I have so many questions, and luckily, I'm here with someone I can ask all about it. Leftovers actress, Amy Brenneman. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you.
Okay, you know what's going on, right? Because I don't.
I don't know. I have questions too.
You do?
I do.
Okay. Completely bonkers in the best way possible. There was a lion, there was a boat, there was a cult orgy. I mean, there was a lot going on. I think God may or may not have been killed.
Right?
Okay, am I kind of in
Sure,
the right vicinity?
sure.
Walk me through what happened.
On that episode, Christopher Eccleston, who plays Matt, is bound and determined to get to Australia, where Kevin, played by Justin Theroux, is, because he believes that Justin is the second coming of Christ. And he needs to be with Kevin on this anniversary of the departure. I, as his ex-wife and now sort of his quasi-shrink, know that Kevin is in the midst of a psychotic break. So I also insert myself into that trip because I want to save Kevin too from Matt.
That was awesome.
I didn't incorporate the lion, but
On shows, typically when you hear the word edgy, it usually involves sex or violence. But in your show, edginess is evoked through just pure, raw, unadulterated pain.
right, and also existential dilemmas. I mean, it's very hard to dramatize what most of us walk around going like, why am I here? What is it all about? What's gonna happen? You know, you sit with people. I mean, I said to Damon, I have like all these new ways of thinking about The Leftovers, especially when I'm in the middle of a season. And I thought, oh my God, it's like we're all on hospice. Like we're all sitting with one another. That if you've ever had that experience, it's quite holy. And you really, the noise of the daily world just sort of drops away. And I feel like that's what The Leftovers is.
Now, your character, Lori, was a member of the Guilty Remnant cult. You get a call and they say you're going to play a character who has no lines, she wears no makeup, and she wears all white. You're a gorgeous woman. You're a beautiful actress. You say, yes, I'm jumping at that opportunity. How does that work exactly?
You fall in love with Damon Lindelof. I mean, I had
Okay.
fallen in love with Damon. It sort of is a process, as these things always are. But that's literally what he said to me. He said, here's why you shouldn't take this role. It shoots in New York, you have no lines, and I'm not going to let you wear makeup. And I said, I'm in. I've done
you're
it.
in.
Well, it's like I just came from a Shonda Rhimes show, which I adored, but where we wore a lot of makeup. So I thought, okay, I mean, as an art, we artists are like sharks. It's like, what's new, what's new, what's new?
Yeah, a Shonda Rhimes production is
We
sort
look
of the
very
opposite
pretty.
of that. Very pretty, hyperverbal,
Right.
and then you go into this world.
That's right.
Now, you alluded to it earlier, but are you ever confused by what's happening in the show? And is that delightful, terrifying, a combination of both?
I have this experience where I'll read a script and not understand it, and then I'll ask questions and I'll figure out enough to shoot my episode and to, understand Lori. But then always when I see it all put together, I'm like, oh, I have the same experience. And then also, Damon, especially in season 2, in season 1, and season 3, but he moves very organically. So it's not, I think sometimes we as actors think, oh, the writers have the answers and they're just not giving it to us. But then he's like, no, I really don't know. I don't know where this is going. We're on a ride together. And that was both, it's just like how The Leftovers is. To know that there weren't really any answers was both exhilarating and terrifying. And, it's like somebody telling you there's no God. It's like, wow. Yeah.
Do you ever help shape the journey of your character?
I do. Oh, yeah. And I think Damon, like any good showrunner, third season in, writes to the actors' capabilities. And, you know what I mean? He gets a sense of who we are. And Damon and I really mapped out Lori at the beginning. 4 years ago, we had lots of talks about where she was on the departure and what happened and this and that. But then this show, more than other shows, it's so surprising that it's not like I think my character would do this. It's like my character does whatever he writes.
Just whatever he writes. Now, HBO famously was going to have this not come back for a third season, but the fans were adamant about it coming back. In fact, they protested outside of their offices dressed as members of a cult. Touched or creeped out by that?
Totally touched. I mean, we have the best fans ever. And I was telling somebody earlier, I have sort of a different fan base for different things I've done. And this is really those really smart sci-fi Comic-Con. I mean, sometimes I'll see like these really deep analysis of stuff that wasn't, really isn't that deep. They're like, oh, it's the red coffee cup. I was like, because that's what we had, But I love all the thought. And also, as a former religion major at college. I mean, I love people are talking about big things. And so when we talk about the show, it's really our portal to talking about some very deep stuff that doesn't get expressed.
God is now out of the picture. He got the lion's share of the lion,
Yeah.
right? Can you give us a hint of what fans can expect from the next episode?
Well, the next episode is the Lori-centric episode.
So you can.
It's all
you can
me.
tell.
Yes,
right.
it's all me.
So tell me what happens.
Lori's in Australia, and she is sort of meeting up with the people at the ranch and what they are. So that's Kevin Sr., and it's my husband, John, and Michael. And I'm sort of crisscrossing between that and helping out Nora as well. But Lori is very much in service to other people, and I think that you contrast that to when we first met her and her hardness and her own violence and her upset. She really has come a far piece.
Now, you've been around the cult of Frasier the Lion. Yeah. And you also dated Frasier, the psychiatrist, on the show Frasier.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Tell me, which Frasier would you rather travel around the world with?
Oh, well, I feel like the Frasier the human, I would get to cuddle more because that lion was like, I mean, it was kind of extraordinary to have, there's a scene and there's a truck and there's a cage. And so we were all trained in the lion, and the lion obviously never left the cage. But the big thing was, don't look at the lion in the eyes, like the lion, don't look at the lion. I'm telling you, somebody says that, it's like, don't say the word banana. Like, all you want to do is say the word. So that it's going by, and I'm like, I can't help it. I can't help it. Right. And I would look right into those huge eyes, and it really was incredible, Really? Yeah, it was cool.
So this is the third and final season. Walk us through how it's going to end. Do you think it will be a satisfying ending for fans?
Yes, I think that for people that are especially enjoying the third season, it will be deeply satisfying. And what I mean by that is and Damon has said that, I'm not saying anything he hasn't said, all that kind of part of your brain, it's like, I want to know, the answer to all these mysteries. You are going to get some answers, you're probably not going to get all of them, but what he's sort of, the language he's using is truly the language of the heart and this resolution. That kind of begins in my episode. When I saw it, I was like, ooh, we're beginning this process. So it's, yeah. I mean, I'm not always, but I can be very critical of myself watching Leftovers. I don't know why I think the bar is so high and everybody's so great, and I could be like, I like the scene, I didn't like the scene. So I was criticizing myself and weeping at the end of my own episode, which means there's something bigger than me going on.
Well, Amy, thank you so much for being here.
So
you are
sweet.
fantastic.
Thank
and you have a great dress.
I do have a great
dress.
Yes. I have to.
I recently sat down with the director and star of the new film The Wall, Doug Liman and Aaron Taylor Johnson. They dished all about making their new thriller and what it was like to work with the wrestling star John Cena. Take a look. So The Wall is a psychological thriller that follows two soldiers pinned down by an Iraqi sniper. What made you want to tell this story specifically?
Well, it was a script I had read that was on something called the Blacklist, which is a group that picks the best unproduced scripts every year, and The Wall had been picked as like best script of the year, and so it sort of was on my radar, and I read it really as a writing sample because I'd heard the writer was amazing, Dwayne Worrell, and then I fell in love with the script itself, and I was like, well, who's directing this movie? I want to make this one, and there was no director attached to it, and that was sort of the origin of my involvement with it. But it started with just a writer. Dwayne won this contest that Amazon was holding for best screenplay of the year, and he was living in China at the time, and just penned this incredible script.
I think ultimately it was the major challenge of this kind of filmmaking, and when I knew it was Doug directing, it was the right filmmaker and a person for this vision that I wanted to pounce on it. In fact, I did more than pounce on it. I ended up stalking him until he had no choice but to offer me the job.
He literally showed up in my office in New York and was like, "You don't need to look any further. I'm the guy. I'm your soldier."
When it's good, it's things it's worth fighting for. So that's what I did.
Filmmakers all the time talk about film being like going into war, but making The Wall, Aaron and I both had a lot of exposure to the people who really do go to war, and And as hard as making a movie is, it pales in comparison to what soldiers deal with every day. And we tried to bring a little bit of that to the screen.
Aaron, how did you go about researching your character?
There was many people I got in contact with ex-Marines and war vets, and we had a great consultant on set, Nick Irving. He's also known as the Reaper, who's with us every single day. He
earned that title, the Reaper. I mean, he killed like 30 people as a sniper his first tour of duty.
The other place I went to was one of the top sniper schools in the country, in Fort Chaffee in Arkansas. I spent 4 days on the base with those guys, and it was great fun. We got out on the shooting range and shot in the day, shot in the night, and just tried to bring home some of that natural banter and their mannerisms and try and make it.
Aaron really became, authentic is a good word. Aaron, because of his exposure, spent so much time with these very soldiers, and it was amazing how many people in the military, both current soldiers, veterans, Gold Star wives, participated and helped us with the telling of the story and the reality of telling. Aaron's character in the movie is like a superhero in terms of what he goes through and how he perseveres, and the sort of resourcefulness and just the amount of stuff a modern American soldier brings into the field. He's like Iron Man in terms of all the different pouches and things he can produce and keep going. But, that's based on real soldiers and what real soldiers go through. And we think of the military as really having partnered with us in making of this film. They could not have had a better proxy than Aaron, who was just so committed to getting it right, to every detail. Like the crotch of his pants in the movie has its own story.
You hear a lot of stories from the military guys, and what agitated them or frustrated them about certain movies is that they never got the detail right about their costumes, and this patch in the wrong place, for example, the pants, the crotch would always blow out. So most of the time, they've got patches all over the place. But to be honest, the first day of shooting, the crotch blew out, and the costume person wanted to stitch it up, and he said, you can't. You just got to leave it.
Really quickly, working with WWE star John Cena, what was that like for you, Aaron?
He's a fantastic guy and got a brilliant work ethic, very professional, and we had him all of 4 days, I think, and he'd be flying from Chicago or flying in from Tokyo at early hours of the morning.
Hosting the ESPYs at the same time. And
wow.
I've never met someone who works as full on and as hard as him, and he's great.
Doug, in the past you've said, when I finish a movie, the movies I choose to do after it are guided by the experience I had on the previous movie. You mentioned Mr. and Mrs. Smith being a reaction to The Bourne Identity. What will your next project be in reaction to this one?
The Wall is sort of a payoff to something I started working on Bourne Identity, of like creating tension and drama and suspense and with the details. And I feel like I probably can't go any further in terms of The Wall. I feel like what I started doing on Bourne Identity, I've now achieved with The Wall. So I got to go in a different trajectory.
Well, thank you so much for being here, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Doug and Aaron. Now, all you fans of Archer and Bob's Burgers are in for a real treat. Voice actor and comedian Jon Benjamin stopped by recently to give us a look behind the recording studio curtain. And it turns out it's pretty scary back there. Take a look.
Hello, I'm Jon Benjamin, and as a seasoned voice actor, I'm privy to twisted things that happen behind the scenes in recording studios. And I'm going to share some of those stories now in a segment called Tales from the Voice Booth. Once on Dr. Katz, the sound guy started rolling too early, and you could hear me sucking a Jolly Rancher at the start of the take. So we had to stop and take it from the top. It wasn't a big deal. During season 2 of Archer, our studio space got double booked. We spoke to the facility manager, and it turned out he forgot to save after putting us in their booking spreadsheet. They were gracious, and it all got straightened out. At the start of Bob's Burgers, the EP had an assistant who was a little much. Not a bad guy, just kind of a pill. He'd quote home movies at me and want to pitch jokes. After a few days, I'd had my fill of him, but I didn't want to make waves, so I told our boss, Eugene Merman, couldn't work with him anymore. And that assistant was fired because I lied. Once during a session, an intern poured me a hot tea into a glass with no loop on the side to put my finger through. And I said, if I lift that mug, I'll burn my hand. So she went and got me a cardboard sleeve to put around it. I said, that's perfect. We should just keep a big box of cardboard sleeves in here so next time we won't have this problem. The booth that we record the voiceover in is actually much bigger than a booth. It's more like a room. A booth is... Sometimes I stand when I record voiceover, but other times I'll sit in a chair. And once I laid down and had the microphone set right above me. Once, while recording audio for a commercial, I saw a man beaten horribly and then strangled to death. I mean, I was watching an episode of Sopranos, waiting for the sound guy to set up, but that was a really gruesome scene. Because I watch TV a lot when I work. There's a TV in the booth. So the voice booth can be a pretty scary place. To see the fruits of my labor, watch Archer Wednesdays at 10 on FXX.
That's our show. Thanks to all my guests, and don't forget to grab the Wonder Woman issue of Entertainment Weekly on newsstands now and at EW.com. Bye.